Daniel spends his days curious, smiling, laughing. He is just pretty fascinating. And although he's nonverbal, he does communicate and he does enjoy activities and he's very interested in things and he loves to engage with people. And he's a pretty fascinating young man. And I personally, I'm humbled by it. I'm humbled by somebody who can have that degree of an injury to their brain and still be so joyful and so happy and so healthy, and like, it's just amazing. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Adapted Life podcast. I am so happy to be back. Today is April 7th. It's Friday, and today I'm going to do an episode based on just something that has recently happened to me, and this is all a journey, so I want to share this. Not happened to me, happened to my son, but something that's going on. So the MRI, Daniel recently on the 15th of March had an MRI, and he had to go under anesthesia to have it because he cannot take, instruction. And it was the first one he's had since he was really little, like in 2004, I think was the last one. But anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about that one. So I'm just wanting to share some insight regarding what it is like to be a parent and caregiver to a child who is now a young man who has this rare brain deformity that Daniel does have. And first of all, I do sometimes find myself now digging back through old binders and paperwork, looking for something to kind of refresh my mind, because it's been a long time, of all of the test results and the doctor's evaluations and all of the specialists that we saw, the tests that we went through, they go back to probably 2004. Daniel was born in November of 97. He wasn't officially diagnosed with what he has until probably around 2004, 2003, somewhere in there. He had his last official brain scans in 2004. So yeah, I'm just reading my notes here. And sometimes I can't remember. So I go back and try to find something, because back then we didn't really use the internet for everything, and there wasn't a lot of information. So I have binders of papers that I saved and notes that I took all the time. Everywhere I went, I had a binder and a notebook, and I wrote everything down, and I saved every scrap of paper. So I look for those long descriptive words that summarize like what exactly they were saying was wrong with my son, and what was wrong with his brain, and what wasn't wrong with his brain. Basically, it was a virus, and that is what started the whole idea. The whole ordeal. So we have a new neurologist, and my new neurology guy and I had a conversation recently, and he calls the original injury the virus that attacked Daniel's developing brain. So this virus is called CMV, Charlie Mary Victor, CMV, Cytomegalovirus. So if you have not heard of the CMV virus, you probably should have, especially if you're someone who has gotten pregnant at any point, or will be, or know somebody who will be. And it's just something that is out there and has been for a very long time. So the CMV is a very, very common virus. It is spread by direct contact with infectious bodily fluids, such as saliva, urine, tears, etc. And CMV is typically unnoticed in healthy people, but it can be life-threatening for the immunocompromised and for newborn infants and for pregnancy, for the unborn baby. So if a pregnant mother, like I was at the time, had no immunities to CMV and becomes infected, the unborn child also becomes infected. So this is therein the tragedy. So So for me, what they have determined is that somewhere probably around the 11th to the 13th week, like in my first trimester, Daniel's brain formation was attacked by the CMV virus. So the doctor refers to that as the original injury, so to speak. So the damage to Daniel's brain was substantial, and 80% of his brain is categorized as something called polymicrogyria and pachygyria. It just depends on which section of the brain you're looking at on the pictures, So his brain was also smaller than normal microcephaly. It didn't develop as fully as it should have. His future was altered forever the moment that virus entered his brain and started doing what it was doing. And his entire life was changed because I caught a virus that I had no idea I could catch. And what I'm guessing happened was that, and what they've told me along the way through all of my CMV research, that it's very commonly spread through little kids, like toddlers and like preschool settings and things like that. Little kids spread this thing like gangbusters. They're always sick, but it's not like a serious sickness, like you wouldn't really know. It's kind of in the family, like like the torch viruses, and they tell you when you're pregnant, don't scoop the cat box, the toxoplasmosis and the fifth disease and those kind of things. Back then, I had no idea. I mean, this was 97, and I thought everything was cool. Brought my daughter to daycare, went off to work, that kind of thing. I had no idea. I had terrible morning sickness with that pregnancy, so I don't remember being sick. I probably never would have really noticed it. I don't know. So flash forward from that first period of discovery, which the biggest discovery happened at the University of Chicago, where there was a clinic at the time. And then we got all these years in between. And here's now, Daniel's 25, right? So I'm not going to go into all the comorbidities, all of the things that have paved his journey through his life so far, because there have been so many things that have gone on. But I'm going to talk about the new MRI and some other fun things. So an MRI was ordered by Daniel's brand new Yale neurology team because we had to switch him to to adult doctors from his pediatric neuro who had seen him his whole life. And we're in good hands. We're at Yale, and they've been tremendous. So we have been reporting for a period of about, I would say, like 6 months or so, on and off, that Daniel exhibits these seizure-like behaviors. And now he does sometimes have breakthrough seizures, like tonic-clonic big ones, or small partial complex seizures. But he does things like he just falling asleep randomly in his chair, poof, and we're like, you just slept all night. I know this because I saw the camera last night. You didn't wake up. Why are you sleeping? Or he just will start doing weird, like, facial things like chewing and twitching, and sometimes he's much more engaged than other times. And so there's a whole list I have of, questionable behaviors. So we did an EEG. We've done many of those. That's the study of the brain waves, and they did it at home in end of February. So it was 48 hours. And again, just like the last one, they didn't see anything that was seizure activity linked with any of these behaviors. So that's always like, okay, that's good, but bad. We don't have any information. So Daniel is on seizure medications, by the way. He takes 2 of them every day. He does have seizures in his brainwaves, but what they're looking for is anything unusual to his baseline. So I should clarify that, because he does have a very active brainwave pattern. If he was not on his meds, he would be seizing like all the time. The doctor wanted to have the MRI afterwards because, realizing that it has been since he was a child that they have looked at it. So they ordered one, and it took us 6 months to get one because it wasn't an emergency. And since he has to go under anesthesia and he has a lot of high risk. Yeah, so that happened. What else happened? So the MRI was done, and Daniel went in, and he came out of the MRI. And of course, I had no idea that this MRI machine, like, this is a crazy story, right? The MRI machine could stall out his baclofen pump, which lies underneath his skin, right? So if you're at all familiar with a baclofen pump, it basically feeds medication into your spine to control muscle spasticity. And it gives you a very small amount, which is just as powerful as if you were taking an oral medicine. The pump helps to control it. It works on its own thing, and you fill it up every 6 months, and it cranks along for 6 years until you have to change it again. So Daniel went into recovery after this routine MRI. He did well, just a few minutes in and out. And his people there, the nurse called me to come in, and every 10 minutes we heard this sound coming from Daniel. It's like this alarming sound, and it's the baclofen pump has a critical alarm that goes off when it's not working. And it goes off every 10 minutes. So Daniel's like a muffled human fire alarm every 10 minutes. And it's really, really unsettling for him and for me. And I'm like, what do we do? So they had told me that somebody would have to come and check the baclofen pump settings after the MRI machine. They did not tell me that the thing could shut off. And now just so you know, it's dangerous when your baclofen pump shuts off, because it's one of those medications that you cannot just cold turkey quit on. And I mean, I don't know what we were going to do, but I was a wreck. I'm like, what do you mean his pump is shut off? Do we have to do surgery? What do we have to do to get it to work? They said they couldn't turn it on from the controller on the outside. It's like a Bluetoothy kind of thing. Anyway, after a very stressful afternoon, the Medtronic is the company. They have a Medtronic rep, and she was available, and she came to check the settings, and she was wonderful. She was sitting there with me for hours. Every few minutes would check again. And it's like, we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And she did tell me that this happens, and that the pump has a built-in technology that eventually, if it stalls, it will get itself going again. But sometimes it takes a little while. And sometimes I said, well, what's a little while? I had no idea. So it was like 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours. Oh, sometimes 48 hours. And I said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The next morning, I had a plane to catch to go see my daughter. And this was the second attempt to get to California to see my daughter after the whole fiasco of January and February with having to deal with in-law crisis and all of that. That was so hard and stressful. And I was just like, I got to get out of here and go see my daughter. And I'm like, are you telling me this? So a routine MRI turned into hours and hours and hours sitting at Yale, waiting for his pump to stop. I was like, oh my gosh. Ultimately, probably it was like right after I issued the intention that I was just going to go and look into rescheduling my flight, because I was like, if they end up admitting us and we got to stay, I can't go tomorrow morning. And then I went into the ladies' room, came out, and the rep was doing the happy dance in the lobby, and she's like, it stopped. It's working. It's working. And so we headed home, and I got on my plane the next day, and off I went. So, yeah, MRI machine can stall your baclofen pump. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. See the things you learn on your journey? Had no idea. Oh my goodness. So anyways, while I was in California, I received the results from the test. I read it and read it and read it. I kept looking at the images on the computer because I could. So it's cool, right? Like, click here to see the images. In the old days, I don't know that you could actually like look at everything when you got a CD thing, but you didn't always have the software to read it, whatever. Now you can just see everything. So I clicked on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I'm gonna look at the images. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at, right? I'm pretending I know all this. I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. So I really don't know. I am not fluent in neurology. Not even close. So I let it rest, and I had some concerns and questions, but I enjoyed the time with my daughter. And I was wondering the whole time, because there was a paragraph in the neurology write-up about a lesion or a cystic lesion or something like that. So basically, yeah. So then, I came home and started addressing these things and talking to neurology, and the MRI scan truly just showed that basically Daniel's brain is still just as deformed as ever, just bigger. And yeah, so then, the new neurologist, he's wonderful. He had a nice chat with me because he inherited all of the cases like Daniel's that had been with pediatric neuro, our previous doctor, Testa, for all of their lives. So so these kids have been under the care of Yale Neurology for 20 plus years. So he had a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions. He had questions about my questions, etc. He told me that Daniel does have a lesion, and that's the only thing that's really showing up that's new. And it's about 1 centimeter, and it could be what is causing him to rub on it's on his right side, rub his face a lot, and he looks like sometimes he seems like he's sensitive to light, and he just gets upset and closes his eyes and rolls over. But he said he could be having migraines, and the other thing that could be happening is that I'm trying to read my notes here. Something about the alert centers, whatever that means, in your brain that keep you awake and functioning and normal during the day, as opposed to when you sleep at night. Something in Daniel's functioning could be not working, and there are so many things that are somehow affected in the space of his brain that is affected with this polymicrogyria and pachygyria. It's the condition of the structure of the brain is very abnormal. And so within that, there can be other things going wrong with motor skills, with other functions of the body, who knows. So the doctor ordered a sleep study because we want to do a sleep study to check Daniel to see if his sleep is normal, if he's breathing normal, if he's not having apnea, and just to make sure that it's not exhaustion that's making him kind of pass out during the day so many times. He wants to rule out or diagnose any kind of issues during sleeping before moving to the next phase of the investigation of the alert centers in his brain. I don't know how you look at that. I'm not sure. But the brain cyst, ? What is that? Do we get cysts on our brains? Yep, I guess we do. So that was the other question. So he said, well, if there are symptoms like he's having, it could be that, it needs to be seen by neurosurgery. So we had to schedule a follow-up with our neurosurgeon, and this guy is great. He's the one who put the baclofen pump in because they might have to drain the cyst. However they do that, it's kind of a big deal. Daniel's very fragile, so I don't know. So we have that scheduled now. So in the world of caring for my son with his full bucket of needs, one routine MRI just added a long list of concerns and new tests and new procedures and new appointments and possible brain surgery and who knows what else to my to-do list. So I was a little overwhelmed, but, not surprised. We don't know what's going on. There's no manual for this. Nobody knows that much about this type of deformity and what's going to happen because a lot of these kids don't live this long. And we just really take it as we're going because that's really the best that you can do. And all of the things, the preventive, the good life, the good care, all of those, right? Anyways, I did have the most spectacular time in California, having a break from all of this. I love my daughter so much, and sometimes it's hard to disconnect and to be fully present. And I want to be much more present for her because she deserves that. And I don't get to see her that often. So I tried, and, I just continued to have this pit in my stomach and that there was just, there was just a little bit more that I needed to do. I needed to up my game a little bit and start paying closer attention to the details going on with Daniel's current state of condition, his current condition. As he's aging, things change. I mean, that's been the definition of all of his stuff, So the fact that a routine MRI stalled his baclofen pump, scared the bejesus out of me, really is more like a par for the course kind of a thing. Like I was just, okay, universe, teach me. It's a teaching moment, right? Everything's a teaching moment. So, we people, you and I, and if you're out there and you're a caregiver, or if you're just listening because you're interested, if you're a friend, if you're someone, but just knowing that we are all carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. I mean, these precious human beings that we love and we care for, we have their lives literally on our shoulders. We're carrying the responsibility of providing them with what they can't provide for themselves. And that's just as simple as it can be. That's how it is. But it is no simple feat to find that space where you can still manage it all and take care of yourself. And the lives and the other things in your life of all of those who are precious to you, including yourself. I was not surprised by the MRI. I was just whacked in the face with the entire page of medical terminology that brought me back to similar test results, where I also needed a normal person to translate for me. So I find myself going back and digging through. Is this the same that it said back when he was, 4 years old? And yes and no, but the neurologist basically told me that what they interpreted back then, it really isn't really that far off from what they're interpreting now. It's not changed. It's just that now they're able to see a lot more detail. He's gotten bigger and the technology has gotten a little bit clearer. So it's still the same. The original injury caused his brain to be deformed. So all of this, guys, despite this significantly unusual brain that Daniel has, it's quite strange when you compare it to like yours or mine. Like our brains his is, I can't really describe how it's like wrong. It's just, where yours is like convoluted, his is like and too small, and there's sections that aren't there. It's just weird. Daniel spends his days curious, smiling, laughing. He is just pretty fascinating. And although he's nonverbal, he does communicate and he does enjoy activities, and he's very interested in things, and he loves to engage with people. And he's a pretty fascinating young man. And I personally, I'm humbled by it. I'm humbled by somebody who can have that degree of an injury to their brain and still be so joyful and so happy and so healthy, and like, it's just amazing. So I've been asking myself, sorry. Okay, I'm back. So I've been asking myself lately, Julie the caregiver, am I weary after a quarter century of being hypervigilant? So I'm back. I've been asking myself a lot lately, am I just really weary after a quarter century of hypervigilance? Have I developed a new way of coping? I don't know. I mean, I don't feel the same way that I did years ago, when all I wanted to do was just vigorously research and push and figure things out. And I was so panicked and anxious about his future. Am I doing all the things that we can do? How much more can we do? Is it enough? That crazy urgency that just kept me up at night, and it was crazy. So now, in 2023, yeah, I think I'm a lot different. Obviously, I've developed a lot of resilience, and I do put myself and my self-care at the top of the list now. This is something I did not do in the early years. I find calm and peace and healing space. And in a state of living from my heart, I seem to roll into intention fueled by more intuition and faith than fear and anxiety. And I'm still solving problems, and I'm still getting answers. I'm still, dealing with all of the information, but I'm not like sick from it. And Daniel's very happy. And there are things that sometimes you just have to selectively say, you know what? It is what it is. There's not anything else I can do with that at this moment, because I'm only human. I'm only one person. So, it's just managing carefully and in a way that makes sense this long journey. This is a long life path we're on. He's here on my shoulders, and he's 25 and I'm 56, and I want to keep going. So I have to take care of me. And, I think that's okay. I guess that's okay. I feel okay about it. But every single day, I really do live from a space of gratitude. And I'm so thankful for that MRI. And I'm so thankful for all these medical people who are in our life, for the Medtronic rep who helped me, for a good cup of coffee in the morning, for making jokes when you really probably are pretty amazed that you have a joke to make. But sometimes in the light of stress, you can find humor. For the guy who comes to wheelchair to repair the wheelchair, and for the sunshine in the morning, and for my friends, family, for my health, for music, for, financial help and financial increases, and things that I'm amazed are growing. Like my projects are starting to be a little bit more, what's the word? They're making a little bit of more money, and they're getting bigger, and things are growing, and my subscribers are growing, and my brain is growing, and my ideas are growing, and I feel happy, and I want to give back, and all of that. Like, it's just like abundance, right? What else do I want to talk about with my silly MRI? I think when I stop thinking too much, then I start to really hear what I need to hear. And that is a message I just want to share so strongly, that when you are a caregiver for someone else, there is so much noise in your head, your own noise, the noise about them, and just, it's too much to bear on a lifetime without breaking down. It's just too much. So you have to find a way to be able to not think as much, so that you can just let what really matters soak in. And what else? So, we got to follow up on things and have an organized calendar. And, after my peaceful morning rituals of meditation and peace, mantras and yoga, then it's appointments and doctors and paperwork and frustrating phone calls and whatever else I have to get done. That's just how it is. But I also have a vision plan, and I've been working on that. And in my vision plan for 2022, and yeah, I know it's April, so these things sometimes take time for me. I'm not a calendar girl. I just can't. I prioritize, right? But everything on my vision board from 2022, which I have right here on my desk, is, you can't see it. This is in a video, not in the audio, obviously. But I have a vision board that basically included things like advancing my podcast and growing my YouTube channel and making more things accessible through my art shop, creating a website. What else did I do? Spending more time making vacations, spending more time with the kids, time with the dogs, exercising more, getting a van for Daniel. That one is still, that actually has now come to fruition. We've been able to start working on that, and I'm so grateful. So that hopefully soon. And yeah, I mean, I have on there that, I'm going to make $5 million, because for some reason I have $5 million keeps pumping into my head. Yeah. Not even close. Like maybe 5,000, maybe 5. But it's fun to dream, right? So that's kind of what I've been working on. And included in that are all these things about Daniel. So I have these bigger visions and goals for the future, while I'm still doing everything else, right? Does that make any sense? And it just keeps me alive, and it keeps me healthy. So yeah, I don't know. Everybody else out there, I mean, do you spend a lot of your days looking at my chart and checking again and again to see if, all the prescriptions are coming in on time? Or do you need a medical authorization? When's his next appointments? Is your calendar up to date? Do you have any messages you haven't answered? I mean, I have most of my doctors in one place for Daniel at Yale, so it's somewhat organized. But I gotta make sure I stay on top of all these appointments that we get to them. Are they sometimes they're video ones, and sometimes they're not. Then there's the ordering of all of the equipment and formula and things that he needs for his pumps and breathing equipment and all of that. So, yeah, I have a lot of stuff that I have to order every month, and it's pretty automated now, but you just have to be on top of all of these things. But I also run a household that take care of 3 pets, a husband. I have one son in college. I have another daughter who lives on the West Coast. She doesn't need anything from me, but she is just a critical part of my life. So, all of those things, and working for some sort of a happy, older life future for John and I, and giving back to the world in some form of purpose, making sense of all of this crazy journey that just happened to me. And that's kind of the essence, right? So I don't know. I think maybe it was the waking up from the MRI. It just gave me a little bit of a, hey, wake up moment, Anyways, so I'm going to keep doing what I do and digging into it even more. But, somebody that one of the newer things for the past couple of years in our lives, in our adapted lives, has been losing people. And this happens. You get older, people are going to pass away. I lost my mom, and then recently we lost John's cousin, and these were precious people in our lives. But his cousin always used to write on her cards, and she didn't have a lot of words. I'm a very wordy person, but she always used to say, have fun, exclamation point. And I just can't seem to stop seeing that, have fun, exclamation point, in her handwriting, because she really did believe in having experiences and having fun. And I think that's true. I think we need to stop doing things and just start having some fun. Like, stop obsessing over like every single detail, every little task, going to bed exhausted. And we don't have to live without having fun. Like, we can make it part of our life. Because we can all do that. We can all choose to find a way to bring that joy in. So remember to shine your light, because that's really important. And remember to surround yourself with people who appreciate your light, because I don't know, in my life, I often kind of feel kind of lost. Like, people don't see me like in my immediate life. Like, they don't know who I am and what I'm doing and what I feel. And my therapist was like, listen, that's that's okay. You know, not everyone's going to get you, but find a tribe that will appreciate your light, even if it's one friend, one person out there. So I don't know. I hope somebody out there appreciates my light because I'm shining it. I just don't know who's seeing it or experiencing it, you know, whatever. Pay attention to your life and how much fun you're having. And, you know, yeah, I'm scared from a mystery brain cyst inside Daniel's head. I am. But I also know that we're pretty good at managing stress, and these things that happen, you know, are just making us stronger. So we learn something. There's a lesson in the darkness when you come out of the darkness. So just carry that with you. So anyways, just so you guys know, I do document a lot of my life on YouTube. So I have like a video blog kind of thing where basically I just sort of videotape whatever's going on. And it's kind of random. It always has been, but it's sort of just like, this is what's happening in the inside of my life that day or one moment when I pick up the camera. And I try to share a little more, and you can see Daniel in there. So the channel's been out there for years. It's just my name, Julie Hasselberger. And, you know, you're obviously you can watch the channel and learn a little more about us if you're into that. And we would love for you to subscribe and be part of our YouTube family. I update as much as I can. Sometimes my videos are a little bit lagged because now I'm also podcasting, which I really love this. This is so awesome. So with all my love and my gratitude, I wish all of you light and blessings. And you know what? If you're having a crazy MRI or a test and you're really freaked out and scared, I get it. And I really do understand. And I will continue to keep everyone updated as to what's going on with the brain and the possible brain surgery. Remember to have some fun and smile. You know, Daniel teaches us every day that despite this incredibly tragic brain deformity that he ended up with, he's still happy and finds joy. You know, he's really an amazing teacher, my son. So I will see you guys next time. So I thank you for listening to my journey through my weird MRI experience. But you know, it's all part of it. And I'm adapting and I'm building resilience. And I hope that sharing that with you is helpful. And we will keep plugging on, you know, hang in there. And I just wish you the very best. And we'll see you soon. Okay. Bye.